Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Dr. Tapera Chikandiwa, otherwise known as Coach TC, the founder and owner of Higher Achievers Coach Educational Center. If you enjoy this conversation, remember to subscribe, to like, and share. Let's get down to some work. Dr. Tapera Chikandiwa, Coach TC, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. I am quite pleased to be invited to be articulating my life story with everybody. Thank you.
You know, I'm excited to have you here for a number of reasons.
Yes.
Because I'm passionate about nation building, and I believe that nation building begins at home, then the school, and that the work that you're doing at Higher Achievers Coach Educational Center is fundamentally important to nation building. So for me, it's a privilege and honor to have you here. But I must ask you, why the tomatoes?
As you're saying that nation building starts at home, around 1979, between 1979 and 1976, my mother taught me a skill, how to grow tomatoes. When you're taught things by your parents, you just... at times you don't understand. So she gave me a variety called a red khaki, and I grew it. And the tomatoes matured after about 76 days. And she then asked me to sell them. So I sold them in the rural bow. We've got those bow that place the deep ones. So I loaded them there, and I sold them for a tick. I sold about...
Which rural area is this? Where?
That's Rusape.
Rusape.
At a village called Temaruru. Mm-hmm. That's where I grew up. So I sold the tomatoes, and then she asked me to use the amount that I got to buy some sweets. And just that was that. And she never said a thing about it. And when I then qualified as a teacher, one thing struck me that, money is never enough. Your salary is not enough. And I could not make ends meet. Things were tough for me. And my mother was no longer there because she passed on. There was no way for me to go to say, Mom, can I have some meal? Can I have something? There was nothing. So I then decided to grow tomatoes.
So you're still growing tomatoes now?
Yes, I started growing tomatoes. And when I was now growing tomatoes from there, that's when God talked to me. God talks to people. When I was growing tomatoes, at one time they were hit by a disease. It was some infestation of insects called leaf miners. So they ate all the leaves and nothing was there. So I was so worried and I asked God, what is this? So a message came to me to say, prune the tomato plant. Leave no leaf. You know what I'm saying? And then I had to leave a strip with no leaves. And then the Lord told me to water them. And I kept on watering for about 2 weeks. And behold, new life came out. By new life, I mean new branches, new beautiful leaves. And I started looking after the leaves, spraying and dealing with the insects and the funguses. And that's where I got the idea that I have to start a school. A school that I will look at learners and look at them just like tomatoes. And the tomatoes then have always been part of my life. I will have to grow tomatoes. I never buy tomatoes.
How big is the production for tomatoes? Is it a big thing?
It is a big thing. I actually supply Marché, Zimbabwe, big shops in Zimbabwe. I supply them.
Wow.
With tomatoes, I can produce a ton a day. That's 10,000 plants. Each tomato plant can give me 10 kgs.
Where do you farm? the tomatoes? Still in Rusape? No.
No.
Okay.
I now have a plot
Okay.
in Beatrice, and I also have a space in Glen Forest in Harare.
Yeah.
And I also have space at my house. I always make sure that I utilize every piece of space that is there to grow some tomatoes.
Where do you get the time to do tomatoes and run this very beautiful school?
Time is supposed to be created. You have to create time. We don't have time because it's always moving on. So you must create time. I have to create time. I get a moment because, I discover these things late. There are some things, Trevor, when you discover them, you just say, I'm late. So if you're late, you use every bit of moment that you have to do productive things. My time is always occupied because, there are many things that I have to do. So I create time, even if it means that I have to get a torch or put a floodlight, monitor what's happening, I will do it.
So you started, you're the founder and owner of High Achievers Coach Educational Center. And you've been running this now for 31 years.
I've been in education for 31 years.
31 years. We've been in education for 31 years.
And High Achievers for 15 years.
15 years, my apologies. But I want us to go to a very interesting starting point. That starting point is that you were considered dull. And people laughed at you when you were young. Talk to me about that.
I was at Wadilaf. I love Wadilaf, the Methodist institution in Zimbabwe. And there, I was a tiny boy. In terms of, I was coming from the rural areas with Wadilaf having so many kids coming from Chitungwiza. And I was coming from the rural areas. The movie that I used, the first encounter with a movie, a film, we used to call them Bioscope.
Yeah.
Was Tiki. That's the one when we're talking about movies, they say, okay, let's talk about movies. Then you talk about the stickman, Tiki. That was a stickman. It was a cartoon something. That was what I had. And my friends would talk about the Knight Rider. I didn't understand what they were talking about. Barakas, they would talk about Tarzan and all these things. I didn't know about that. So in terms of modern living, I was not there. And in terms of television, because my father never bought a television set, I didn't know what a television was, even at Form 1. I only started seeing televisions after visiting other places. So with that kind of background, you get into a school where children are coming from the urban area. And in terms of socialization, it means that you cannot really argue or discuss with them because you have nothing to offer. So you then find yourself...
You feel inferior.
You feel inferior. And my father was not a rich guy. He used to work for the city council. So he would give me $4.20. That was Chawasarira bus transport to Wadilaf. And that was enough. The bus would cost $4.17. You get 3 cents change. But for lunch, after lunch, kids will always they will go to the tuck shop. And what I could do only was to go and be the first on the queue to buy canned cakes. And then I would get a chunk from my friends and they'll get the biggest. Even up to now, if I see a candy, I get so much attracted. My wife then dealt with me there. She bought me lots of them. And in that kind of environment, with that kind of background, you get into a class, you want to say something, people always give you a name. You go to the dining hall.
What names did they give you? Do you remember?
Yeah, because I didn't have tack. You're supposed to have tack in the biscuits and, the carons and, the Lobos biscuits. I didn't have them. So when you go to the dining hall, you're supposed to ask for porridge, right? And guess what then do they call you?
Porridge.
No. They called me Oliver Twist. Because I asked for porridge. I think Oliver Twist, if you read the book, I think there was this little boy. So they gave me Oliver Twist, which is a name I then actually accepted.
So they called you Oliver Twist?
Yes, and one thing I learned in life is to accept every name that people give you. I don't have to argue with you. If you call me Oliver Twist, that's how you see me, but that's not who I am. So I learned that at a very early age. So I got that name, and performers in class, they would always say, what good comes out of
Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist. And to the one thing that happened, my birth certificate had the name David, but I was so down that I didn't realize when the statement of entry came from Cambridge for O-level that the name David had disappeared. I think it was left. I only realized it when the certificate came that the name that was now on my certificate was Tapera only. That was the level of fear that I had, to the extent that you cannot check your own.
Wow.
To the extent that my father had to then take me through the process of name change, where the name David disappeared and then Tapera came in.
You also faced rejection because you had a skin disease. So that adds to you being your Oliver Twist and this condition. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, at one time I'm allergic. I'm quite hyperallergic. When I started maybe getting a bit of money, I then had to check with the doctors. I think the specialist checked me, I think, with a number of tests. He realized that I'm allergic to almost anything, to dogs, to cats, to fur, to dust, anything. I react to fish, to anything.
That's me, hey.
That's you.
And I discovered this around about November, having to suffer quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then I went for the 60 or so test that I'm allergic to a lot of things.
Yes, that's me.
So, but it presented itself on your face.
Yeah, for some reason, I think I got in contact with something, when you're in a school, people may use deos, anything, something that happened. There was something that happened that I got into contact with. And then I think it went onto my face. And then my face started peeling off, it became septic. And we had some girls from South Africa, and they actually complained to the body master and the headmaster that we can't eat with this guy.
Wow.
So I had to eat my lunch from outside because I developed a skin disease. And at one time I woke up, I still remember that I woke up, I was in Form 2, and I didn't have my hair. On a certain portion of my head, there was no hair. And it was just like smooth. And in addition to the skin thing, then my hair disappears and people are saying the hair has been taken by witches. Things.
So what did that do to you?
I got so devastated. And my mother was still alive. She also got so worried and she tried many things. I was so worried about it. But at times there was no solution to this. But at times, maybe what I want to appreciate is that I had friends who then supported me through it. They encouraged me to stabilize. And for some reason, I stabilized and I started doing well in Bible knowledge. But they gave me a name again in Bible knowledge because, the verse that I really liked was Luke chapter 1, verse 1. And the boy Jesus grew tall and wise. Even though I was down, there were things that were easy for me. And the boy Jesus grew tall and wise, and he was loved by both men and God. That's Luke chapter 2, verse what? Verse 52. But there is Luke 1, verse 1. Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile a narrative of those things, just as they were delivered to us by those who were from the beginning, eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. It seemed good to me also, having followed this closely, to write an orderly account to the most excellent Theophilus. I then discovered that there's something that I could do. That was a Bible knowledge. I could cram verses. And then they said, his name is now Gamaliel, for he taught us the laws of our fathers. So they gave me a name again. But I liked Bible knowledge and I excelled in that. Even commerce, I could define the bill of exchange in unconditional order and writing, addressed by one person to another, signed by the person to whom it is addressed, to pay on a demand, a sum certain in amount to the order of a specified person or bearer. I could do that. So commerce, I then became a star again. So I succeeded in commerce, I succeeded in history. I was very good. And I would get a prize in what? From my class in history. So I would get a standing ovation on Parents' Days. People would say, yeah, he has done well. But they're just saying to their parents, you know what? That boy you saw getting prizes in those, he's the best in the class of fools.
Wow.
So they again gave me, even if I was doing well, they gave me a title again for doing well in the constituency of the Dao people. So, you know, you are never accepted in life at times. You do well, they criticize you. You don't do well, they again criticize you.
People will always talk. It doesn't matter whether you succeed or fail. They always talk. So, but here you are. You have started this amazing, amazing business. I've been to the school, and I really love what you do. I admire what you're doing, and I pray that it grows. So, Higher Achievers Coach Educational Center. How many students? You've been running it for 15 years.
Yeah.
How many students do you take a year, and how many have passed through the institution right now? Do you recall?
The journey to Higher Achievers really is a long journey, because I taught at St. Faith. I think we will look at that later. I taught at St. Faith, but from St. Faith, something happened at St. Faith. When I was in Faith, I became a national person in terms of business studies and accounting. I was forced by the Ministry of Education to go and teach accounting at A level without a degree. Because accounting as a subject was not taught by those with Bachelor of Accounting, because the Bachelor of Accounting students would always move from university to chartered accountancy because that was paying more. So I'm one of the first teachers in this country to teach accounting as a subject at advanced level, because it was not available easily.
But you didn't have a degree to...
No. I didn't have a degree to do that. I had a teacher qualification. I had a qualification from Gweru Teachers College, because I went there after my advanced level at Murewa. Mm-hmm. I got an E at advanced level. But I've taught thousands of accountants. And I'm also one of the first teachers to introduce business, management of business in formal teaching in Zimbabwe, because it was available as if you see the title, it's management of business. There is not a book that called management of business as we speak. I think if they are there are new books. It's a subject that we taught from just reading around. I could read and go and teach. That was me. And again, I would be laughed at by my colleagues, because they say you are teaching A level, but you don't have a degree, right? So I then discovered the importance of passion and not qualification. So I would teach my kids, and I actually contributed to the transformation of the education sector. But when people talk about 15 points, the whole thing, the
curriculum.
Yes, in the curriculum, it all started with me at St. Faith, where we are talking about students getting 15 pointers, 20 15 pointers. I engineered that to the extent that there was a flood of kids at the University of Zimbabwe from St. Faith High School in Rusape, whereas if you talk about it today, you find that the Bachelor of Accounting degree will be congested. You cannot get in there. Talk about the Bachelor of Business Studies, Computing Science, talk about law, and talk about the transformation that has taken place in the whole education industry in Zimbabwe. It all started from St. Faith today, but the St. Faith continues to lead. But that's not where the story is here. When I was at St. Faith now, because I did what I was doing with a passion. You know, if you do something with a passion, there is always a reward. And because I was teaching with a passion, word started spreading around the country that at St. Faith, there is a great teacher for accounting. At St. Faith, there is a great teacher for management of business. And one day, I got a student, Tendai Chaitezi. His father used to work for Scottfin. You know Scottfin, the finance company.
Yes.
He just came with his bags. And he said, I came with my father. I've heard that you are a very good teacher. I've come to stay with you in your house so that you can teach me business studies and accounting. And I said, where are you coming from? He said, I'm coming from St. Mary's Magdalene's. And my wife was there. Then we talked and we agreed, let's take this child in. But we didn't know that we were taking an angel in our house. Because after he qualified, he passed his advanced level, and then he came to Harare. And that's when I then moved now from St. Faith to Gateway High School. You get that?
Yeah.
And then when I was now at Gateway, the Chaitezi family had a relationship with the Gwanzuras. So they then connected me to the Gwanzuras. They said the Gwanzuras need a tutor who can teach their kids at home. So I began my mission now of carrying in a session, visiting one house after another with my pen. I'm one person who established a business with a pen and satchel. So I'd go teach the child at home. And the Gwanzuras referred me to the Mazimbes. Mackenzie Mazimbe was the chief executive officer for Astra Holdings. And from there, it's just spread like wildfire that there's a good teacher. I will move from Manasseh, this family. No, the prominent people. I visited their homes. And then I realized that I cannot contain this. That's when I then started a group. And that group.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Let's stop there for a while. Take a break. So you start a group. I think this group is the seed of something bigger that's going to come out. So at home, don't go away. When we come back, we'll drill down into the roots and the foundation of the institution that Culture TC has built.
What I'm doing is that I am grooming young people to be spiders and lizards, that they're supposed to get into places around the world where they are not expected.
Greetings. My name is Trevor Ncube, host of In Conversation with Trevor, Zimbabwe's most engaging conversational show. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. We've brought before your screens change makers from arts, business, and politics, and from the region. Please join our growing community of viewers. Subscribe, like, and share. Welcome back to our conversation with Dr. Tapera Chikandiwa, otherwise known as Coach TC, the founder and owner of High Achievers Coach Educational Center. Coach TC, I laughed when I got to this place that says you are inspired by the lizard and spider. Where do you get talk to me about that? How does a lizard and spider inspire you?
I think if you read the Bible, you realize that they're there, but they're the weakest of creatures, right? Which are rarely talked about. And for somebody saying that really I'm inspired by a lizard and a spider, it's something that's really quite shocking. I also call myself.
It shocked me, yeah.
Yeah, I also call myself the cobweb beast, right? I'm the cobweb coach, because if you look at the spider, it's a very tiny creature, but if you look at the silk that it makes,
strong.
It's the strongest of material, stronger than steel. Because if you come up with a cord that's made of the spider silk, it's stronger than.
It is very strong.
It is very strong. And one thing that you realize that if it rains, the cobweb becomes stronger. And the cobweb has disturbed everybody, even after the spider is gone. So I'm inspired by that, because what I want to do is I want to leave a legacy. My legacy should be that one of a spider web. A spider web that really talks to people around the world, right? And it must never die, even after I'm gone, because people always talk about the spider coach, the spider web coach, the cobweb coach, right? And very tiny, the spider, but it comes up with a systematic spider web. In other words, we're saying when we are doing our things in life, we need to be systematic, and God has put all these things in our midst, and we see them. And one thing that I can assure you, really, is that if I get into my spider cocoon in that place, I can actually come and have dinner with you at your house. You cannot refuse to allow me if I'm a spider. Mm-hmm. Because I can get anywhere I want. And people will not really, they will notice me after I've constructed my web. That's when they'll say, oh,
the spider was here.
The spider was here. At times you will not be able to see it because it will have disappeared. And actually, I've not seen any chemical that is an anti-spider chemical, meaning that we're not very easy to catch. And talk about the lizard. The lizard can be able to get into the American, the White House. It can get there. And men with guns will be there. But they can never attack the lizard.
That's Lamentations and Proverbs, isn't it? Where we find the spider and the lizard.
Yes, in Proverbs,
Where the king's houses.
In the
and that
king's
kind of
house.
stuff.
They can also eat from the king's table.
Under the rock. And
Yeah, everywhere. And the king can actually even, the prince and the princess.
So how does this relate to what you're doing?
What I'm doing is that I am grooming young people to be spiders and lizards, that they're supposed to get into places around the world where they are not expected, but they will just find themselves there.
You know
That's
what
the
I
coach.
love?
Yeah.
What I love, Coach TC, is that you are building an institution. And I like your thinking because we build the nation by building people and by building institutions that live long after we're gone. Am I right?
Yes, we are talking about years after we're gone. And if you go to England, for example, to France, for example, you see those massive buildings constructed by people many years back, but they're still standing, right? Go even to the palaces in the United Kingdom, to Edinburgh, you find all these things. But what we are saying is we cannot be able to build palaces, but we are supposed to do what we can, because I'm not in the royal family. I don't belong to a chieftainship. Even I'm not a sabuku or somebody, is it a village head? I'm not there. But I make impact in my own area because I'm created in his image, created to create. So my father is a creator. So I create like him. So I seek opportunities where they don't exist. And I knock on doors where there are no doors. And if there are no doors, I have to build the door. I create the door. And I'm one person who is not even discouraged by problems. This institution I achieved as Coach Educational Center actually started during the height of Zimbabwe's West crisis.
Shall we go there? So you are walking around with your satchel and pen, and you are going into these homes of luminaries and senior executives. Where did the dream, the passion, the desire to create this institution that you're now running come from?
I went to this other house. I think the child was coming from Peterhouse. That's a beautiful school. So I went to this house and I was sitting on the couch and it was time for break. So the boy said, okay, coach, I'm going to switch on the TV for you and then you watch this movie. And I'm watching it was a beautiful movie, but I don't remember the name. I didn't bother to check. I told you about my background. I didn't know that there is something called a home theater. So the child had set a home theater. There were speakers all around the house. One speaker there, one speaker there. And there was this gunfire that came. It was massive. It was in the movie,
screen,
on the screen. But the surround sound effect, because I was not aware that it was set, it appeared like it was a real gunfire. Because in 1979, the Liberation War was still on in Zimbabwe, and I knew the sound of a gun. And this sound, which came out of the television, out of this house, it was real. I jumped out of the couch and I almost collapsed. And the young man came and said, "Sir, coach, it's home theater." I said, "What is this?" Then he says, "There are speakers that are surrounding you." I went home and I said, "Home visits?
No more.
No more. This must be institutionalized," because I almost died. I almost died, from a gunfire and from a bullet that was not there. So I said I would not get into someone's house again. I only managed to get into someone's house when I was assisting one of the children of our former president. That's when I then got into the house of somebody.
So you then decide to build an institution.
Yeah.
Was it easy?
No. It was not easy, because the first thing when you tell people, because I had a dream, right? I had a dream and I said to people, I have got a dream. And the people asked me, what dream? I said, I want to build the school. And they said, no, you cannot. Anopenga is mad. You can't build a school. It's not possible for you to build a school. I said, I can build a school. They said, crazy. Go and do it. We want to see. Nobody believed me. My wife believed in me. That's pretty. She believed
I
in
thought
me.
you, as a Christian, you would know that Joseph told his dream to his brothers. And you know what happened to Joseph? But
Yes.
anyway, I tease.
You are so you are sold. Yeah. At times what our pastors have taught us in church is they have taught us that there's something called faith. And they can preach about faith. But one thing that they've not taught us is how to have faith. And I think there is need for us to look deeper into how to have faith. And how to have faith means that we are supposed to move with faith and do things. Most probably, you must know that always. That's my policy. I believe that I succeed from failure. That's what I've believed in.
So you told people you had a dream. They
Yeah.
said you can't do it, but you decided you're going to do it all the same.
Yes, because I was also starting to read around. I started reading around because I discovered that there's a lot of things. If you want to hide things, hide them in books. Put them in books. Very few people would read anything that has to be in books. They will not read about. So I started reading my Bible and reading more books, right? And reading about a number of other people like Henry T. Ford, right? Ernest Shoemaker. I started reading about the book. There's Small is Beautiful. That when you start small things, right? Small things are still beautiful things. People always believe that large things are good, but I believe in success.
Do not despise the small beginnings.
Yes. So I believe that success is whereby we rise from failure to failure. If you find yourself rising from success to success, you've got a big problem because
Failure is still coming.
Yes, many people have failed because of becoming successful. So every single day when I wake up, I jump out of my house so that I meet with failure. And I know that if I meet with failure and I overcome failure, then I've succeeded. Every time I want to come up with problems, even when I was coming here, I was coming from solving problems. Problems come every single day. And we must always look for solutions to a problem in the problem. Because study the problem, understand it, be close to the problem. Like I'm very happy about the drought that's coming. It will teach us lessons about how to do farming better, how to do tomatoes better.
So you found yourself in a bus
to
go and buy 25 chairs because the manufacturers of school furniture had closed down. Talk to me about that.
So when I started when I came up with the institution, right, I had bought some desks. They were not very stable. They would juggle themselves around. They had problems. The chairs were twisted like this, but the parents believed me and they enrolled students. I had about 15 of those desks, right? And then one of the Fridays, when I told the people that I'm opening the school, on a Friday, I then realized that I had 43 applicants and I had 15 chairs. So I then boarded Zimbabwe. The international airport was still Harare International Airport. So I was there in the aeroplane and I landed in South Africa. And then I went straight to Marché and bought the do-it-yourself desks, right? And I arrived at 8:30. 11 o'clock, I was picking my order from Marché, and I was now going to Renkin. That's the bus terminus to board the buses, the Greyhound and City Line. I bought a City Line to Harare. And it was on a Friday. Saturday, I was in South Africa. Sunday morning, I am at Roadport with my desk. 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, we are fitting the desks because I had been told how to do that one. Maybe you do it yourself. And on Monday, we are there. And
you have your first intake?
Yeah,
of
43 students.
43 students.
Yes, 43 students.
How many students do you now have every year? You have Form 1 to Form 6, isn't it?
We have got ECD.
Okay.
ECDA to Form 6.
Okay. How many students do you have in a year, roughly?
Every year we help on normal school. We have got full enrollment of about 700 students, normal school. And because we also do extra.
Yes.
We get an additional per term, about 400 again, who came in for assistance from other schools. We assist them, we coach them. Because we believe that no child is down. There's dysgraphia. That's handwriting disability. We sit down with the child, we tell them to write well.
Dyslexia, like me.
Oh, yeah, dyslexic.
Dyslexic, yeah.
People who can't spell business.
Yeah, I can't.
They twist.
I can't spell business.
But you know what? People with dyslexia, actually, they've got all the letters correct there, right? It's just a mix. I mean, if they look at their errors, they correct them.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we make so much noise about it. So there's dyslexia, dysgraphia.
So like you, when I grew up, I was called dull. I was called ugly.
Oh, really? But you're very handsome.
Thank you. So your lesson, the journey that you've walked, is very similar to mine. But I love the fact that you now have this huge institution that you have. What's the end long game for you? What do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years as far as the institution is concerned?
What I now see that we've got a lot of kids who are going out of the country to do degrees in different places, and you're told this degree is fake and that is fake. And we seem to be in a world where we are failing to understand the metamorphosis that is taking place in the world. The world is changing. A degree that used to work maybe 10 years ago cannot work today. It may be meaningless today. And what was knowledge yesterday
is not knowledge anymore.
It's not knowledge. We are now moving in the age of artificial intelligence, right? We are now moving in the world of practicals, where we are supposed to be practical, education 5.0. We're talking about the learners discovering themselves. And I'm thinking, going forward, there is something that is supposed to be a qualification that replaces degrees, doctorates, and master's degrees, something. And in the next 5 years, I would like to come up with that institution which prepares our children for careers that don't exist. Universities are preparing people for using what they know. But we need colleges, we need institutions that talk to the future.
You know, you are passionate about, or rather you're strong about the fact that as Zimbabweans, we tend to emphasize academic qualifications.
Yes.
Talk to me about why you think that's not the right way of doing things.
You know, we have things that are written in our books already, and we take that as knowledge, right? And some of the books that we use and some of the theories that we use are not theories that are found in Zimbabwe. When we talk about, say, for example, we talk about the cell phone, right? In the outer world, a cell phone is a child's right? For those nations that are advanced. But if you look at our situation in Zimbabwe, that technology is very good, but it is coming at the wrong time, whereby our children are not able to manage the gadgets, right? They're not able to. And these things that we give them actually destroy them. And what we need to do is to come up with solutions that are practical to our own world. Things that are relevant to our own environment. And we need researchers who research on how African children can benefit from African ideas, but taken around in a global village. We have to travel around. We have to take the knowledge from this country, the knowledge from that country, developments there, and come up with homegrown solutions. I'm very passionate about that.
Homegrown solutions.
Yeah, like I say, for example, kids must not bring phones to school, right? And people say, but why? Then you hear that phones, for example, in the United Kingdom have been banned.
Yes.
Which is something that I've always believed that we must not have. Don't start typing things around, because, education is about developing certain motor skills. You're supposed to be writing. And then if you're now doing your English composition with a spell check, yes, we know that it works. But are you developing the mind? You are not. Like, you're talking about you're dyslexic, right? But you are an editor, you are a writer. How come somebody who has dyslexia can actually become an editor for a newspaper? It's because his mind has been sharpened, his mind has been developed by whoever taught you. So I think that kind of education is what we need to develop and push forward that, and not depend on gadgetry as we move on.
I'll stop you there. We'll take another break. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll go to a very interesting aspect of what you're passionate about, which is that it's important to nurture students to be examples of Jesus Christ. And I want to ask you, why is that important? So at home, don't go away. Join us on the other side for that very fascinating conversation.
It's always important to realize that Jesus Christ is the most successful person. In other ways, we are saying that there's no success that's outside God.
Welcome back to our conversation with Dr. Tapera Chikandiwa, otherwise known as Coach TC, the founder and owner of High Achievers Coach Educational Center. So, Coach TC, you say that your wife is your best friend, and she's the silent powerhouse in the background of this huge project that you're working on. Talk to me about that relationship.
Yeah, it's always very difficult for men to believe that their wives can do things. You live at home. But when I was looking for a place to run my school, to start the school, I tried everything that I could, maybe moving with gangs of people looking for houses, vacant houses, but I could not succeed. And then one day my wife just said, I was talking to a friend of mine who has just indicated that they've got a house at A01 Ovesha and she's into real estate. Would want to go and see the house. And I went there and I saw the house. And this is the place where we are still today. So she has also supported me. When you are starting making money, a lot of maybe people come very close to you. They would like to also to enjoy that. And I then had my wife coming in as my secretary to protect me, and she has always protected me. I've worked together with her, and I know that even in my absence, she can actually carry the vision forward. She actually left the kids, our child at home, and then came in to support me when the baby was still very young. So I really appreciate her, and she understands me better. With all the stresses, the disappointments that are there, she's a soft voice that just says, okay, you can do it, continue, don't worry. And she has never asked me for money to do any lavish thing. She just said, let's put money into where it belongs. So, yeah.
Awesome support.
Yes.
We celebrate Pretty Chikandiwa, Mrs. Chikandiwa, for the support that she's given you. You say that your institution is committed to transforming lives by integrating biblical principles in all subject areas. And that what you want is to nurture students to become examples of Christ. Why is that important?
I believe that maybe it's always important to realize that Jesus Christ is the most successful person. In other ways, we are saying that there's no success that's outside God, because we talk about the Godhead, right? We talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we are here on a mission. And that realization that the boy Jesus grew, right, tall and wise, and was loved by both God and men, I think that one is critical to me, that the boy grew, right?
Shall we quote the scripture? This is Luke 2, verse 52. So Jesus grew both in height and in wisdom, and he was loved by God and all who knew him.
Yes.
That's a powerful scripture.
That's a powerful scripture.
So that's foundational to what you're doing.
Yes, I am wanting learners to grow like Christ, right? In terms of success, succeed like Christ, right? In other ways, be creative like him, because he's the creator. In other ways, we're just saying, you must be like God. Just be like Christ. Just be like God, because God wants us to be His image. We are created in His image, and that's what we coach the young people to understand, that Christianity is the way to go. And we are
How is it received by both the students and the parents?
the parents are so receptive. At my school, even non-Christians come because we all still continue to mold them like that. We don't have prefects. We have servant leaders. Everybody is created a leader to become a leader. So we groom everybody to realize their potential. I don't believe in the prefect system. I believe that any child can become a leader. They're going to be leading their families. They'll be leading companies, whether they lead 2 people or 3 people. But we need to groom them to become leaders. And that is what Christ wants, because everybody is created in the image of God. There is no bigger person or lesser person. We are all the same before God. So we must make sure that opportunities are made available to everybody. And you know what? The whole world belongs to Christ. And we are saying, High Achievers Coach opens the doors of opportunities to all learners. To be able to go to UK, United Kingdom, to Brazil, to Canada, to Australia. I've been places, right? And that's the prayer I have for my learners. But one thing that came is that I'm motivated by the Exodus. When the children of Israel were crossing the Jordan River, when they're in the Jordan River, the priests were asked to stand in the water and to watch people cross. I'm a priest in the water, and I've watched young people cross. I watch teachers cross, and I watch achievers being made. There is nothing so fulfilling than watching people crossing over.
As you're talking, I'm reminded of you and I took a walk around your school, and we met one young man. I think he's one of the, what do you call them, the early learners?
ECD.
ECD.
Yeah.
And you talk to him, and he says, Coach TC, I learned something yesterday about what Elon Musk is doing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
But also the fact that this young man was so comfortable approaching you.
Because there is metamorphosis going maybe around us. The world is changing. I don't have to be a headmaster in the school. Kids don't want headmasters. They don't want principals.
And they call you Coach TC.
Yeah, they call me Coach TC, Tapera, because that's my name. Yeah, and if you are in the house with kids, don't be the father. They don't want to see a father. They want to see a friend. They want to see a coach. They want to be taught how to live life. And if you come as a grandfather, they will not like you. So present yourself to the kids in an acceptable way.
Do you see when they get out into the market, when they are working and so forth, do you find that they continue in the way that you taught them?
They excel. Because I taught my children, my kids, I taught them that if you get a chance to do work like for God. If you are a receptionist at a hotel, do everything that you can.
As unto the Lord.
And you know what? I'm fond by hotels, even Marriott. I'm fond. They tell me, you know what? Your kids are amazing. They are managers in the front office. They are so welcoming, and they get promoted.
What does that do to you?
Oh my God, I get so encouraged because I believe that I polish diamonds. When you polish a diamond and you see the diamond shining, you get so excited, and you have to pat your shoulder. You say, that's very good, because the diamond is shining. Diamonds are meant to be shown. So my kids are diamonds, and they are red diamonds, and I polish them and give them out to the world so that they can display the life of Christ. And I'm so happy to see them succeeding.
Some residents where you are opposed you when you are putting that school. Has that opposition gone?
We are now best friends with the community. When something is coming up, people thought that maybe the values of their properties will go down. But I want to tell you, go to 801 Ovesha, any property that's around that, you need millions of dollars to buy it. You cannot be able to get a property around. So we have actually upgraded the value of the community by coming in there. And we also do corporate social services. We work with the communities in a number of ways. So the community and us, we are together.
I'll tell you this. It's amazing how things happen. On Saturday and Sunday, I was with one of your neighbors.
Oh, really?
And that neighbor says, when the school started, we were unhappy. But now we love being in this neighborhood, because the other service that the school has been able to provide is that there's a policeman on Harare and Helvetia in the morning. So the flow of traffic is improved because of the school.
Yeah, we have police every day there. We have to, this is our country. And we don't want anyone else to come and develop this country. We need to develop our country. We are born here. This is our country. And those who are outside, we are happy with them there. And they're also giving us resources and encouragement. If they see anything that's worthwhile for the community, they must always communicate with us so that we can develop a better and prosperous Zimbabwe.
What's the biggest challenge to you right now as an education institution that you would want to share with the viewers there, just in case people want to support you? What's the biggest challenge? What's the biggest hurdle that you're facing right now?
The biggest hurdle that we're having is that we've got laws that are very much prohibitive in terms of a number of things. We are engaging with our ministry, our government, to try and maybe talk about densification, for example, that we have to build our buildings going upwards. Zimbabwe we are running short of space. Like we don't have space for sports fields, right? There are people with land that is lying idle, they're growing grasses. And what we're saying is, why not find ways of doing things better? Like we are supposed to make sure that our young people have got places where they can do sports, even at night. Go to Taiwan, they play basketball up to midnight. The kids don't get into drugs because they've got playing facilities. I'm saying we need facilities, sports facilities around our cities, around our urban areas, in the rural areas. We need facilities for sports so that young people can engage themselves and they don't get into drugs, right? Because they get into drugs at times just because they're idle, and idle minds are workshops of the devil. So we need to make sure that our young people are capacitated in terms of sports. And anyone who wants to assist in terms of capacitation of sports facilities and entertainment for young people, we are available to try and see how we can engage each other and make sure that our young people are protected.
Before we go to books, I must raise this point that I found interesting, that your journey to, was it Saudi Arabia?
To Dubai.
To Dubai. Whilst you're still teaching at Gateway, was one of those inspirational things for you. You went there and you saw something, and you came back and said, having been frightened by the theater that you experienced, I need to build a school. But you had seen it done somewhere else. Can you share with us that?
Yeah, I got an opportunity in 2005. I'm so privileged. At times you find that God gives you opportunities to be privileged. And never take anything that God gives you as for granted. Because I went to Dubai in 2005, and the towers that were there were the two twin towers, the Emirate Towers. That's the two camels facing each other. And I was amazed. I came back home and told people, you know what? In Dubai, there are buildings that look like camels. 2 buildings. But that's not where I got in motivation. I got motivation at the Knowledge Village of Dubai. It's a very simple place. We know, but it houses several universities there. There are several universities from around the world. When you talk about universities, we don't want to have universities as big as the University of Zimbabwe, as big as NAST. No, universities can actually be housed in one single place, right? So I got motivated by the Knowledge Village of Dubai with this vast array of universities in one place. And I came back and I said, I will take the ideas there and I'll build a school. And if you come to the school today, you realize that I've not brought in universities, but I've tried in my best to try and bring something that is a marvel in terms of maybe providing education to young people, the tiles, the lighting system that is there. We need to create a brilliant environment
excellence, isn't it?
Yeah, excellence. If you teach the young people now about excellence, they will live in excellence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Coach TC, I want us to now move on to books. You were asking me before we started whether I'm writing a book and that kind of stuff. Tell me, do you read books, and what books have you read that you'd want to share with our book-loving audience out there?
I read quite a lot.
Just share with us 3 books.
I'm motivated by John Maxwell and his complete range of books. I think the leadership, the motivation, I think that's where I learned about success is just an attitude. And it's an attitude. It's in your mind. So if I leave this place here, I'm gonna be doing things in a different, because I've already seen something that I can do around here. So I will copy a number of things and do something better because it's my attitude. So I've read a lot about Maxwell. Is I think one of the greatest authors, and he encouraged me. And
the second
book I read, Napoleon Hill, right? Think and Grow Rich. If you think and grow rich, that's the auto reasoning and auto connection, that the ideas about money making are floating around, and all you need is just to catch them. And I can actually see money ideas floating still.
Money ideas.
You are right. Okay, and I also read a book, Who Moved My Cheese.
Yeah.
Who Moved My Cheese. You know, cheese.
What did you take out of that book? Take away from that book? Who moved my cheese?
The very simple story about rats and mice, right? And cheese always move. And people always, when things get bad, people always find someone to blame, that, maybe somebody moved cheese. Cheese moves. Cheese, we are living in a life where there are cheese stations. Cheese is in this station today, tomorrow it's not there. And you don't have to complain about who moved my cheese. Cheese move, right? So we face problems, we face challenges, right? But we must always overcome them. And if cheese has moved, you must always move around and look for the new cheese station. And at times, you must move away your own cheese. There's another book, I Moved Your Cheese.
Yeah, talking to you right now, my heart is full. My heart is full.
Thank you.
Because you're doing something absolutely amazing. You are building individuals who love God, who are founded on principles, on values, on love. You're building a nation. You're building institutions. I mean, that's how we build this nation. And you're passionate about, it's us who are going to build this country and not wait for others to build it. So I love what you do.
Thank you.
I identify with what you do. And we celebrate people like you. You are a national asset. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Allow me to turn over now to our viewers who are all over the world, who follow this show on a weekly basis. We are out every Monday, Central African time, 7 a.m. on YouTube. And to ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, I invite you please to subscribe, like, and share our content. We've gone a step further, by the way, and created a whole platform where all our conversations sit. And we've put our podcast there for your listening pleasure. So you can be washing plates, repairing your car, mowing the garden, as it were, the grass in the garden, and listening to some of our conversations. Thank you so much for your support. Until next time, cheers to you all.